Do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
And as the announcer said, welcome to the wild woolly world of Cowboy Logic. Another Tuesday evening edition. Boy, the week went fast, didn't it?
It did indeed.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And
voice.
I'm Don Neuen.
Yes, my baby. There's my baby. He's sitting here, pushing all the buttons.
Speaking of babies.
You gonna get right to that one?
I'm gonna get right to something that is more important than this radio show. It's more important than just about anything one could imagine, and that is my youngest son's birthday is today. Mm-hmm. I want to wish Parker Neuen an absolute pride of my life. A happy birthday. I don't know if he's listening because he's 15 years old. And
it's uncool. It's uncool.
Yeah. It's probably uncool. But having said that, I wish my youngest son, Parker Neuen, a happy 15th birthday. Well, now we can move on to other things. Well, I love you, Parker. Hold on. I want to say one other thing.
Okay.
Talking about morals and culture and society. I was talking to somebody in my office the other day, and my oldest son, Lee, had actually come over. He works with a company that we do a lot of business with, and one of our sponsors, Adnormous Graphics. At any rate, Lee had come over, and he's 19 years old, and on the way out of the office, I did what I do every time I say goodbye to one of my kids, and that is I tell them that I love them. And I was talking to this guy that was in the office, and he was like, oh, man, that's real cool, And I said, yeah, well, I made it very clear when they were at a very young age that they will never be too uncool to tell me that they love me back. And if they ever think that they do get too cool, that when Dad says, hey, Lee, hey, Parker, I love you, man, that they, can't say that because it's uncool and they're around their friends. That's when I show up at their school, whether it's a middle school or a high school, and I sign in at the front desk, and I make my way to whatever their homeroom is, and I walk in, and I embarrass the daylights out of them by telling them that I love them right in front of the rest of the class. So at any rate, that's a little bit of a social culture educational moment for all those dads who think that their kids are too cool to tell them that they love them. It's something that my kids will never grow out of, and I'll make sure that they don't.
Well, when I started talking about kids at the beginning of this, I thought you were going to bring up 15-year-old kids.
You mean the ones that can't get aspirin at a school without permission, but they can, what do we call this? The
morning after
pill.
Apparently, the FDA has approved the morning after pill for children as young as 15 without a prescription and without parental approval. Again, continuing this cradle to the grave, your government takes care of you, not your parents. And who was that teacher, that idiotic teacher, I forget her name now, who said that? And they really are doubling down on that. Your kids aren't your own. Your kids belong to the state. Your kids belong to the government. It takes a village. It takes a village idiot, if you ask me, but that's...
Well, Nancy Pelosi is talking about wanting to have government-funded health care, not health care.
You got that already.
Sorry, that's right on the frontal lobe. Mm-hmm. Government-funded daycare and that she feels that's the responsibility as well of the federal government.
Well, that's apparently in Obama's budget. He wants to expand early education, early childhood education. That's like we can afford.
Early indoctrination.
Exactly, which is what the public school system has become. Basically, indoctrination, child abuse, if you will, in my humble opinion. But that's
what exactly was the Teletubbies then?
Something along that line,
because that creeped me out as an adult. It freaked the daylights.
I had trouble getting past Barney.
Barney was okay in my house, but the Teletubbies
came after me, thank God.
They were like clowns. They creeped out my kids. Mm-hmm. Hey, before we go any further, we want to extend our extreme gratitude to the American Pride Network, who signed us on shortly before last week's program, and as a result, there's no longer the need for you to listen to the garble, the digital dropout, the compressed, squashed crap that you had to endure for the first 2 weeks of Cowboy Logic Radio when we were unfortunately signed to Blog Talk Radio. Mm-hmm. American Pride Network is who we're with. You can find them on TuneIn Radio. All you got to do is download the app or go to it on your computer and do a search for American Pride Network. Their website also is www. I like how I say that, didn't you?
W, like two U's.
W.
That's the first thing I learned in radio. It's two U's.
W.
No, it's not W. That's Bush. W is Bush. For radio, it's W.
All right, let me do the website though. Okay.
Okay. www.
Okay. Dot. I won't even say www. I'll just go dot. AmericanPrideNetwork.us. Very similar to CowboyLogic.us.
But different.
Yeah, same purpose, same objective. Education, engaging, giving you what's going on in the world in a manner in which the mainstream media simply does not have the cojones to do.
You give us 2 hours, we'll give you the world.
Who used to say that?
Radio station in New York, 1010 wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world. We used to say, you give us 22 minutes, we'll give you Ajita. But that's besides the point. 917-675-3200 is our phone number. That's 917-675-3200. And for you that just might need a little help because things have been pretty rough right now, given the economy and everything else, even though the mainstream media isn't telling you that, we have a liberal helpline, 310-299-2899. We want to help. The liberal helpline is there for you, free of charge. 310-299-2899. But we were talking about health care and the fact that 15-year-olds can now get the morning after pill. The FDA is going to, the good old FDA that's always after your health, is going to allow that to happen, which, again, to me is the overall idea that they just want to decrease the population. But that's another story, in my opinion. But ObamaCare, 42% are unaware that it's the law. What do we have to do? Like just slap you upside the head to wake your butts up here? 42% are unaware Obamacare is the law. Has anybody looked at their health insurance premiums lately?
Did I read that 7% thought that it had already been repealed?
The Kaiser Family Foundation report says 12% thought that Congress repealed it, and yes, 7% thought that the Supreme Court had overturned it. Overall, Obamacare is at its second lowest rating ever in the last couple of years. Less than 35%, according to the Kaiser Health Tracking Poll, view it favorably. 40% unfavorably. 24% have no idea or refuse to answer. I mean, this is just stupid. I'm sorry. To me, you're talking about low information. This is the frog starting to really boil. The boiling pot theory, gang. You put a frog in a pot of water. He's swimming around. He's all happy. You start turning the water up. And by the time he realizes he's boiling to death, it's too late to jump out. Your health care is at a premium, no pun intended, right now. And we wonder why
ours have already gone
we're
up, right?
in the predicament we're in. Not, well, a little bit. About maybe 10%.
Is that because I turned 52?
Yeah.
How old am I? 52?
Well, you hit the threshold. It's going to double. Our insurance agent has told us, and we have private health care, that you can bet your premium is going to at least double, perhaps more, next year. Overnight. You're going to wake up. You have no pre-existing conditions. It doesn't matter. Your premiums have a very good possibility of doubling. And if you think, well, my employer pays for it, think again, because at this point, they could easily just pay the $3,000 or whatever it is and just say, I'm going to boot you off because it's not worth it. It's a lot cheaper not to. See,
but when I brought that very point up about employers saying, screw this, and, either paying the fine or just quite frankly, cutting people back to part-time hours so that they're not subject to this, or diminishing the workforce to the point where they're not at the level that they're required by law to do this. Many of my very intelligent and articulate liberal friends said that I was overreacting.
Well, let's wait till it happens then. Is that what we have to do? Wait till it kicks you up in the pants before you wake up? Democrat Senator Max Baucus, who actually helped write the damn thing, said that Obamacare is a train wreck. Now, he is not seeking re-election. And that's what's really happening here. These guys have been thrown under the bus, and they did it willingly, and now they're going to be out of a job. You've got 2 Republicans and 6 Democrat senators that are not seeking re-election, many tied to this whole Obamacare fiasco. Let me ask you something. How do you insure 30 million people without adding a single doctor and keep costs down? It just doesn't happen. I know supply and demand is this evil thing, and capitalism is this evil thing. But you know what? There's no tort reform in this thing. There is no cap on any kind of premium at all. They have IRS agents, 16,000 plus, being hired to oversee your health care and adding not one single doctor. And because the premiums are going up, because people can sue up the wazoo, in some cases with OBGYNs that deliver babies, parents, the mother or the father can sue until that kid is 18 years old. And you're talking 6 figures plus for insurance if you're an OBGYN. Many OBGYNs are just not delivering babies anymore. They're just doing the GYN stuff because of this. And many are retiring early. In fact, this weekend, we met a doctor who's a surgeon, heart surgeon. He retired a couple of years ago. He said, bag it, I'm not going to do this anymore. So you tell me how that is going to improve health care. See, what nobody wants to see is that the rich will always be able to have the health care. Congress is trying to exempt themselves very quietly from this. I think you're going to have a total blow up if that's the case. But they can always go to another country even if they have to. It's us poor schlubs that are going to be stuck in the middle paying up the wazoo for health care that is going to be mediocre at best.
Yeah. Well, I think you need to call Congress. You need to call your representative.
I tried.
You need to, yeah, exactly. We did try.
You get busy phones.
Johnny Isaacson is.
Well, Saxby Chambliss at least answered the phone.
Yeah, I at least
spoke.
I spoke to one of his drones.
Yeah, but he still voted for the gun thing, and then there was some humana, moment on that one. But President Obama today did give a press conference, and it's funny. You watch the stock market, and it goes whoosh, whatever he says, it goes up and down. Whenever he's on the air, you really better not be trading. Anyhow,
so hold on a second. You should go short right before. What do you do?
Most
you
times.
Trade.
Today, actually, he kind of had a little bump in the road. He had a bump and a glitch, actually, today.
Glitch.
It kind of went up and then went back down.
Why don't we go into that?
And then it went back up.
Go into the bump and glitch.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. President Obama did say in this press conference that for the majority with health care, it's already implemented. Bullcrap, I'm sorry. And with something this big like Obamacare, there will be, quote, bumps and glitches. So I want to know, if your premium doubles, what is that? Is that a bump or a glitch?
I'm going to say glitch for 200, Alex.
Okay. I'll see you and I'll raise you that. Okay, anything that I noticed that has been named under this administration does quite the opposite. The Affordable Health Care Act is anything but. The DREAM Act is a nightmare. I mean, this is just unbelievable to me. And I hope, more and more of you are going to wake up, because we are not going to get improved health care with this. Just name me one thing the government does better than the private sector, please. And I will, I like to listen. I'd like to hear it. 917-675-3200 is our phone number. And again, the liberal helpline for all of you liberals out there wanting a little bit of therapy. That number is 310-299-2899, 310-299-2899.
Actually, for the liberals, we should change that. I don't know if it should be the helpline. It should be the comfort line.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever. Maybe just call them. They could call up and we could talk. We could say, it's okay. It's all right. We all make mistakes.
Well, they think that already.
We all make mistakes.
They just want to feel good. As long as you feel good, everything's okay. As long as it's emotional, it's okay.
And
facts don't matter.
Here's the big. If I was a liberal, I would be so angry at what's going on right now, because I would feel like I have been used.
Well, I agree.
Mm-hmm. That I would have been just hoodwinked. How's that for a Mark Levin word?
That's right, I said it. That's right,
God,
I said
love
it.
Him. He's just too funny. Let me go through a couple other headlines here. New York Times actually saying, millions in CIA quote-unquote ghost money paid to Afghanistan's Karzai, Hamid Karzai, to try to get them to like us a little bit more. I never would have guessed.
What a puppet.
I never would have guessed.
What a puppet.
I must tell you, one time I did have, when I worked at Fox, I was anchoring a press conference between Hamid Karzai and Donald Rumsfeld. It was the middle of the night, because it was, the middle of the day over in Afghanistan. And a female reporter asked a question. I forget what it was, something about that he didn't want to hear. Karzai didn't want to hear. And it was in Arabic. And Rumsfeld turns to Karzai and says, "What did she ask?" And Karzai immediately jumps on Rumsfeld and goes, "It doesn't matter. Next question." I was amazed. He just, first of all, he didn't want to hear anything from a woman. That's right. Number one. And number two, he didn't want to hear anything that was going to be counter to what he was trying to put over on everybody. And it was really quite telling. Anyhow, apparently, though, the so-called ghost money was meant to buy influence for the CIA, but instead fueled corruption and empowered warlords, undermining Washington's exit strategy from Afghanistan. I never would have guessed. And you wonder why. I think 3 people died today, in fact, in Afghanistan, in a roadside bomb. Still going on. These unfunded wars are still there, gang. 6 years later. Whose war is it now?
What's happening in the world of Janet Napolitano now?
I have no idea. The government had the ability to react and respond accordingly to the Benghazi terrorist attack, and could have had forces on the ground before the second wave of the assault began. That's according to a special operator with knowledge of the response. He told that to Fox News in an exclusive interview where they kind of moved his face where you couldn't say it, and they changed his voice. One of those kind of things, because he's afraid to say anything. And of course, there was news the last couple of days that Hillary Clinton actually cut funding, despite the fact that they had asked for more funding and for more security at these consulates, because they feared for their lives. They knew what was going on.
This was a member of our military that had to disguise himself, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Special
Am I the
operator.
only one? Do you find that to just be an absolute disgrace that a member of our military who is coming out whistleblowing against something that obviously and clearly we've been talking about it since like November 11th, November 12th, that we knew something was wrong with Benghazi? Isn't it a disgrace that he's got to disguise himself?
I think it's a disgrace that we're still discussing this at this point, and nobody is really looking into this in the government at all.
Barack Obama
Very few.
Went to bed.
Yeah, he did.
That's it.
That's true. He
went
decided to go to
sleep.
sleep. Well, that kind of fits in with his
schedule,
which we'll get to. later on.
Yeah, but all they need to give us is about 15 seconds to give them that.
He spent more time on vacations and occasionally at a meeting, according to the Government Accountability Institute, than he did in meetings with on his economy. In 2013, so far this year, we're 4 months into it now. Right, 4 months? Yeah.
All right, pay attention to
Tomorrow's
this.
May Day.
This is good.
In 2013, a total of 6 hours have been spent so far this year in economic meetings by our president. In 2012, 24 total hours of economic meetings of any kind. Since President Obama took office, 412 total hours of economic briefings of any kind. Compared to golfing and vacations, 976 hours, more than double that of economic meetings since he took office on golf and assorted vacations, which, by the way, also cost the taxpayers over $1 billion because he and Michelle can't seem to travel together. Dog owners spend more time on average, about 8 minutes more a week, walking their dogs than he spent on economic meetings.
Go back to the 6 hours in 2013.
So far this year. Tomorrow's May Day, by the way. May Day.
Cool.
Okay.
What did he do for 6 hours?
He spent a total of 6 hours in various economic meetings.
Okay.
Meetings on the economy so far.
I want to put that into perspective. Last week, I uploaded our show archives to YouTube. Mm-hmm. To convert one of the files that you can watch on YouTube and to upload it took more than 6 hours. So I've spent more time uploading an archive of Cowboy Logic Radio for you guys to watch and listen to in your spare time than our president has spent all year in economic meetings.
Yes. What most people don't see, and here's the deal. We are all busy working, trying to pay taxes, trying to make ends meet, trying to pay now for increased health care that's going to hit us like a sledgehammer, not to mention the payroll tax that everybody couldn't figure out, which was in itself a read my lips moment, one of the biggest tax increases to come down the pike in the last few years. Imagine what ObamaCare is going to do. But this is my theory, and see if you folks would agree with it. But I really do believe that most people, I know Rush Limbaugh calls them low information voters, and of course a lot of people do not have a lot of the information. But the reason why they don't is because we're too busy in our daily lives. You elect these officials, and you hope that they will do the right thing. And unfortunately, through the years, they've gotten more and more and more corrupt that at this point, all they care about is getting reelected and their collective butts. They are Democrats. They are Republicans. They sit there and they yuck from either side of the aisle, and they go out and they have dinner afterwards. Given the way the internet is today and the way people can communicate, I don't even see why they need a reason to be in Washington, D.C. They really don't. Because then you have the situation where, in radio, where I came from, okay? They got rid of payola and plugola. Disc jockeys and program directors and general managers couldn't get paid to play somebody's record, although I can't say it didn't happen. But, supposedly that was illegal. And that is exactly what's going on with all of these, people that are totally trying to influence all the lawmakers in Washington, and it's legal. Inside information. Everybody said, they changed the law and they can't get this inside trader information, from Wall Street anymore. And then like a week later, they repealed it. All this kind of stuff, it just blows my mind. And most of the people that I talk to say the same thing. Why do they allow these people to be influenced? Why? And not only are they influencing them, it's a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industry to be able to sit there and influence a lawmaker when they are supposed to be representing us, the people. Their various representatives, which, by the way, leads us to Hank Johnson, which we'll get to later on.
Hey, listen, we're going to have to take a break here for a second. I want to let you know that Fabrizio Del Monte is our Western Canadian field correspondent.
You think he's Italian?
I think he's a nice Jewish boy.
Okay. Name
Anyway,
like that? Fabrizio
Del Monte. Good guy. We'll be calling him Fab.
Yes, he's fab.
So that we're not
fabulous.
Doing the laborious task of trying to say his name over and over. At any rate, he's going to give us a unique perspective of what he thinks as a Canadian citizen is going on in our country right now. We're going to talk to him about that at the 10 o'clock hour. He'll take some calls. And if you're a fan of the band Hinder, you might want to listen. You might want to call in, and you might want to try to hit Fab up for some backstage passes when Hinder comes to your show, because he's the tour manager for the band Hinder. So having said that, at the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to be going to Fab and being Fab. We're going to be back. We'll talk to you in a few minutes. Stick around. In the meantime, this is going to be a very interesting break. We're going to feature some Mark Levin, and we're going to feature some stupidity. Enjoy it.
Out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Stan Levy, also known as the Black Man Thinking out here in California. When I'm not dealing with the friends of Governor Moonbeam out here, I tune into Cowboy Logic. Hope you do too.
The Cowboy Logic phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 917-675-3200. That's 917-675-3200.
This is real rock star wife and cancer-fighting ninja Jill Gaynor, hailing from the great red state of North Dakota, and you're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
I am tired of the United States military being put upon by this commander-in-chief and by all the little creepy left-wingers in this country. I'm sick of it. Oh, what we did in Iraq. What we did in Iraq was righteous. And young men and young women went over there and did it on orders from their president with the support of their Congress. I am not going to tolerate, at least on this program, the attack on our military families, what we've done. We are a great people. We are a beneficent people. We are a tolerant people. These damn puke liberals, if they lived anywhere else on the face of the earth, they'd be in gulags, they'd be enslaved, they'd be tortured or worse. They don't know how good they have it in this country. From the president on down, every day the rest of us who work for a living, who mind our own business, who pay our bills, who ask nothing from anybody. Every damn day, we have to hear this demagogue, our president, and the vice demagogue, and all the other demagogues who live in the lap of luxury, who take one trip a month, who are spending $1 million on a weekend. Our money. We have to hear them lecture us about how our country sucks, how they're going to fix it, how our success and hard work doesn't belong to us, how we don't do enough for them. for their favorite political constituencies, for the government. We have to hear this every damn day, day in and day out, as they hollow out our society, as they destroy our economic system, as they undermine our military, as they leave wide open our borders. We have to hear this crap every single day. And by the way, not just from Democrats, Republicans too. Is there nobody left in public office who will defend our way of life? That's the question. Look at this Republican Party. This Republican Party, born as the anti-slavery party, born as the abolitionist party, prepared to take on the federal government, prepared to take on a third of the states, born in courage. Look at it today. Pathetic. Led by weasels. The Republican Party motto today is, what is the motto today? Let them eat mush. You shouldn't fear illegal aliens. You shouldn't fear the destruction of the culture. You shouldn't fear this. You shouldn't fear that. What are you, a conspiracy nut? What are you, paranoid? From the Republicans. It's unbelievable. So no, I'm not going to give time to mental patients on the left, the philosophy of the stupid. Oh, but don't worry, don't you know, they support the military. Oh, yes. While they're taking their health care away, they support them. You take health care benefits away from men and women who volunteer to defend our country with their lives and give it to people who haven't earned it, who sit on their asses. That's right, I said it. Claim to be victims and claim to have certain economic rights. That is a right to your labor. And I've had enough of it.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Batter up, guys. Baseball is in the home stretch, and if you're planning to go to a ball game, there's no better way to travel than with Star Coaches Incorporated. Traveling with a Star Coach means you'll be riding in a 45-foot custom-built coach with plush leather interior, flat-screen TVs with in-motion satellite or refrigerator, and a bathroom. So why would you want to head to the ballpark in a cramped compact? Visit StarCoachUSA.com today to find the best coach for you. Star Coaches promises exceptional customer service, impeccable driving standards, and extraordinary amenities in each of the limo and party buses. There's no doubt you'll arrive in style, and the entire experience will be unforgettable. Leave the driving to the pros and book a Star Coach. Let them help you choose the perfect bus that fits your needs and budget. What are you waiting for? Visit StarCoachUSA.com today.
Hi, I am Parker. I am only 15 years old, and I am already sick and tired of what our politicians at the local, state, and federal level are doing to my financial future. I am sick of the irresponsibility of our elected officials and the lobbyists who continue to financially abuse my country. I am a 15-year-old kid. I approve this message, and I listen to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Hank Johnson, Democrat, Georgia.
Mr. Speaker, like a kid at a carnival, I rise in full support of H.R. 527, the Responsible Helium Administration and Stewardship Act of 2013. Mr. Speaker, I'm relieved that, and I'm sure that the American people are relieved as well, that Congress is finally going to do something about one of the most pressing issues today. That is, we've got to ensure access to helium for all. I'm pleased to support this bill, which shows that this Tea Party Congress will make the tough choice to keep children's birthday parties on schedule and give industries that rely on helium the lift that they deserve. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, a world without balloons. How can we make sure that the injustice of there being no helium for comedians to get that high-pitched voice that we all hold near and dear to our hearts? Imagine a world without balloons. Today, the House has chosen to just simply float above it all. And finally, we're going to do something for the American people, and we should all pat ourselves on the back for that.
Don't you just wish you could do that to the turds in Congress?
You know, do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
And welcome back to the wild world of Cowboy Logic. Our phone number 917-675-3200. That's 917-675-3200. And the liberal helpline for you out there who want a little therapy and maybe a little kind of knee-jerk reaction back to the other way. 310-299-2899. That's 310-299-2899. And yes, there is a reason why that is a California number. Hank Johnson Jr., if you heard in that little... not Hank Johnson Jr., Hank Johnson,
Hank
Democrat,
Johnson.
I should say.
Hank, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, Hank Johnson, Democrat. Georgia.
Man, I'm so proud of him. One of my representatives here. Is he serious? I mean, this is the guy who also said Guam was going to tip over.
Yep, that's Hank.
What is his IQ?
A heck of a lot less than yours.
God. I mean, that's sad. That really is sad. I just cannot. It's pitiful.
All of our friends.
Am I the only one out here that's going to say that? I'm going to say it. That's right. I said it.
All of our friends in the Stone Mountain, East Atlanta area that are falling under the curse and the embarrassment of Hank Johnson, please do something about it.
It really is. It's amazing, just amazing that this guy not only gets paid handsomely for what he does, but he's going to get paid that way for the rest of his life. Anyhow, speaking of President Obama earlier, we were talking about things that he was doing as far as saying today that ObamaCare is going to have some bumps and glitches.
I want to do another quiz. Give me one and let me figure out whether it's a bump or a glitch.
Oh, okay. Your premium, we already did this. Your premium's going to double. Now, is that a bump or a glitch?
I think that was a bump.
Okay. You have a medical device that you need that's going to have like a gazillion % tax surcharge on it.
I'm going to say glitch.
Okay. How about you need a stent? And this really did happen to a friend of mine's father, age 70, was told he has to wait for a stent. Something that's pretty commonplace.
That would be...
That's a pretty big glitch, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's a glitch.
Life-threatening.
That's a glitch. Okay, do you have any more?
Okay, at what point does Obamacare start to tell you when you can live or die? That's been done before. I guess we ought to start studying history.
That would be a bump.
Yeah, that would be a major problem. And the fact that most people have no idea what is going on here with Obamacare, 42% unaware that it's law.
That would be a sinkhole.
God, talk about stupidity. And
but
we
I
wonder
overreact.
why Hank Johnson
gets
elected. Okay, President Obama's former advisor and green job czar, Van Jones, is at it again.
Wait a minute. Is that the communist?
Yeah, the admitted communist.
That's right.
He was arrested yesterday outside a federal courthouse in St. Louis during a protest against big coal. Apparently because he said these evil coal companies are wrecking the earth and they are not paying out benefits for coal workers. Ironically enough, though, it wasn't just for people like Van Jones. Those companies would be booming right now as they wouldn't have a hard time paying their benefits because they got to go to court all the time with these jerks. Seeing that they are all being put out of work by the new green jobs, which you know are actually sponsored big time by President Obama and his green job czar. So what does he want?
The former czar that was let go in the middle of the night on a weekend.
But what does he want? Does he want big coal to have benefits, or does he want to kill big coal completely because of green jobs? I mean, we have $200 million that just went for an electric car also that was not produced in the United States. That's the latest green debacle that never happened.
Right.
Can you imagine if you put a few $100 million into a job or a company that might actually exist and have a product that it might actually cause a few people to get employed and we wouldn't have record high unemployment?
I can't imagine a world without balloons.
I can't either. A lot of people say to me, it's not record high unemployment. Look, the unemployment went down 7.7 or 7.8%. What you don't realize and what you're not told, and this is all lawyer speak, in my opinion. You got to read between the lines. These guys are slip and fall lawyers in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Starting from the head on down. The fish does rot from the head on down. They are not counting the unemployed like they did in previous administrations. If they did, the unemployment rate would be more like 15 or 16, maybe even more percent. Because what they've done is they've stopped counting people who stopped looking. They've stopped counting people who've just given up. They've stopped people who've just dropped out of the workforce. The labor participation rate is the lowest it's been since World War II. I mean, this is not a recession. This is depression numbers, if you really want to look at it. Anyhow, but Van Jones is saying now, today I volunteered to be the number 2 and the letter B. This is what he tweeted. To be arrested at a peaceful demonstration supporting miners being ripped off by big coal. And I guess he forgot to mention how he tried to put the big coal companies out of business to begin with. But I guess since he couldn't do that, he's got to go after them for not paying benefits. I don't know what miners make. And it's got to be a horrible, horrible and tough job to be down in those coal mines. But you know what? They've got jobs. And 15% of the people out there don't. And all Van Jones is doing is by trying to go after people like this, he's going to get more of them laid off.
Can I change direction for a second?
Sure.
I want to move away from a self-proclaimed communist a-hole.
That's right, I said it.
And I want to read you guys something because Donna and I yesterday went on to a radio station. We were asked to come in and do an interview, WLBB. And one of the questions that the guy asked us in there was, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this radio show? And, we told him yesterday that it's because this was a way for us to help engage and discuss and hopefully try to find some solutions to what's going on here. But I realized tonight that that's a very minor reason that we do this. And I got a message sent to me by somebody, and I know you're listening, and I'm not going to mention your name, but I want to read you guys this message that was sent to me about an hour before showtime. because this is why we do this show. Don, I don't have much money, but if you need a little help with the production costs of Cowboy Logic, I will send it over. I finally get to listen tonight. Now, I read that.
Wow.
And then I read it again because I wasn't real sure that I'd read it the right way the first time. But I had. That's why we do this show. And I know the gentleman that sent that to me is listening right now. And from the bottom of my heart, Donna, I'm sure, agrees. Mm-hmm. We thank you. And people like you, sir, are exactly why we do this show. It's why we prepare for it all week long. It's why we come up with the sound bits. It's why we promote it on Facebook. That is the reason. So I hope you guys will spread the word about Cowboy Logic because we're doing it for the right damn reasons. Okay, now back to what we were talking about, Van Jones, exposing assholes like Van Jones. Can I say that word on the air?
No, you really should not. This is a family show.
Oh.
Don't do that again. I'll give you 50 lashes with a wet noodle.
I didn't know that was one of the bad words.
It's not, but it's not polite. It's not very ladylike.
I'm not a lady.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's fine, I guess.
All righty then. Moving right along.
The Boston bomber, the brother that has assumed room temperature and good riddance, they got over $100,000 in welfare over the past 10 years. These illegal aliens got food stamps and the like by the van load, according to a caseworker. Over $100,000 worth.
Were they illegal aliens or are they just terrorists?
Probably both.
Okay.
Now, they were illegal. They were, I think they overstayed their visas. But the point is, we have Americans in this country that need that money. We have Americans in this country that might be going hungry because of jerks like this. From what I've heard, they drove new cars we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars.
I heard a BMW.
BMW, Mercedes-Benzes, which means they were either A, drug dealers, or B, financed by possibly Al-Qaeda or some other terrorist network, or both. There were a lot of reports saying they were drug dealers as well. But the government for decades has knowingly given illegal immigrants food stamps, according to a former certification caseworker who denounced the costly practice back in the 1980s, but was essentially ordered to keep a lid on it. I mean, this is not just, the terrorist bombers in Boston. This is in general. It's going on quite a bit. In fact, now they're trying to get a lot of these Hispanic immigrants that are coming in here illegally. They're handing them, or whatever language they might speak. From what I hear, these little cheat sheets are in different languages, like dozens of languages, telling them how to get government aid, how to get welfare, how to get food stamps, how to get, this and that, all in, their native language. So as soon as they get over the border, not how to get a job, how to get on government assistance. So let me ask Marco Rubio something. And I know he keeps saying, well, don't worry about it. It's never going to pass Congress. This DREAM Act, or whatever you want to call it, this illegal immigration, authorization act, I call it. How are you going to pay for this, if nothing else? We can't feed the people we have here. We can't keep the people in this country, with their heads above water. And now we're going to take on 30 million all in one felt swoop and hope they just might get a job.
And hope
that they want to get a
job. That by
job.
putting them on welfare, the end result won't be a pressure cooker bomb that kills 8-year-olds.
Well, but we know the whole fact is the more people you have, if you don't teach people to fish, they're always going to be hungry. You teach them to fish, they can always feed themselves. A great man said that thousands of years ago.
That's right.
To paraphrase it. But the point is, this is a train wreck next to Obamacare. I mean, we are just getting whammed after wham after wham of things that are just we cannot recoup from. This is not just the payroll tax increase was a tax increase. Now we've got Obamacare. Now we've got illegal immigrants that are, going to, and with the whole thing with Rubio, which gets me so annoyed, is he refuses or he does not tell everybody that this act or this latest immigration bill this Gang of Eight is working on is not only going to allow those who are here illegally to stay here and possibly become citizens and vote, but their families as well. How are we going to? That's another 30 million people on health care, on Obamacare. So now instead of the 30 million that don't have it, we're now possibly talking another 50 or 60 million.
Which I heard today
total.
That actually those numbers have been inflated and exaggerated by the Obama administration, that it's not 30 million people that are without health care that are here illegally. It's actually only 9 million because 21 million actually get health care despite the fact that they're illegal.
Well, I didn't hear that. I just know that I heard 30 million more people are going to be getting health care, and I know that there's not enough doctors to take care of a fraction of that.
Right.
But apparently this retired assistant case manager, his name is Craig McNeese, was in charge of vetting food stamp applicants in North Florida and Indiana in the 1980s. Now, this is back in the 1980s, 30 years ago. And he says the program was infested with fraud and corruption that was perpetually ignored by management. Quote, illegals would come in by the van load, and we were told to give them their stuff. Free stuff. McNeese said management knew very well they were illegal. It was so rampant that these employees would tell their illegal relatives to come and get food stamps. It's unbelievable.
It's an embarrassment.
And we get vilified for trying to work and keep our heads above water. And the people who do nothing, get more of nothing. I mean, get more of everything. Okay. Don't get me started.
That's right. You said it.
That's right. I said it. Another poll. Many in the Muslim world want Sharia as the law of the land. Do people know what Sharia law is? I try to put that on my Facebook page periodically so people would learn about it. The Islamic legal moral code of Sharia they want is the official law in their countries, but they disagree on what it includes and who should be subjected to it, according to an extensive new survey.
I want to know where women's rights organizations are with regard to Sharia law.
Well, there's no money there,
it's
so why
non-existent.
Bother? Well, of course, because you can't sue a country that has Sharia law like you can here in the United States. There's no money, so don't bother. Sorry, but that's the way it is. Suicide bombings was mostly rejected in the study. Isn't that nice?
With the exception of,
there's
a country. What I read
this was a Washington. The Pew Forum. The Pew Forum did this study. They're in Washington, but it did.
The Palestinians.
Yes, it did win 40% support in Palestinian territories to do suicide bombings. 39% in Afghanistan. 29% now in Egypt. And 26% in Bangladesh. And we're sending our money over there, and we wonder why our men and women are getting blown up.
Can
and we
you
wonder
imagine,
why people in Boston are getting blown up.
Can you imagine
taking
a clipboard and a white piece of paper and going out on the streets of whatever town you live in and asking people a simple question? Are you in favor of suicide bombings, or are you not in favor of suicide bombings? And 40% of the people that you ask tell you that they're in favor of suicide bombings.
Well, we actually spoke with a very nice gentleman this past weekend who we will hopefully get on the air in the coming weeks, who lives in France, and he is Muslim. And what I really want to know is, why don't so-called moderate Muslims come forward and reject these extremists that are hijacking this religion? The problem is, if you've got 40% of the people saying that they agree with suicide bombings, that doesn't fare well for the so-called moderates that are trying to say Islam is a moderate, peaceful religion.
Well, I've got a good friend that is Muslim, and I asked him that very question.
Some of your best friends are Muslim, right?
I don't have that many friends, period. But we do have a call. Let's see who this is.
Unfortunately, we can't screen these calls ahead of time.
That's
so
right.
It should be interesting.
Who we got on the line here?
It's me, Fabrizio.
Oh, okay.
Well, how you doing, Fabrizio?
You're early, Fab.
Sorry. Do you want me to call back?
No. No, we want you to hang in here and talk to us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
All right.
Hey, we're doing good, man. Hold on. I'm going to let everybody know who the heck we're talking to here, and then we're going to go to a break. And when we get back from this break, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk to you for a little while, and we're going to pick your Canadian brain.
But still, though, just to continue with what we were saying real quick, though, before Fab called in, I really would like to hear from a moderate Muslim, from a person of the Muslim religion who follows Islam. How can you turn this around? If you've got a survey that says you want the majority, 40% of your people agree that suicide bombing is okay, in Palestinian territories, close to that in Afghanistan, 29% in Egypt, and 26% in Bangladesh. How can you hope to live in the world unless you are going to just try to kill everybody who does not agree with you? And that is a scary thought. Very scary thought. And on that note, we'll talk to Fabrizio Del Monte in a minute.
Fab, I hope you can hear us.
Yep,
we're gonna keep you on hold here, buddy.
He's out in Western Canada. We'll hear his take on what's going on here in the U.S. and in his country coming up in just a minute, right here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
This is Aaron Gaynor from the band 12 Stones, and you're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio, where conservatives and libertarians go to suckle at the breast of the Constitution.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
The Cowboy Logic phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 917-675-3200. That's 917-675-3200. Adnormous Graphics has extensive experience in large format vinyl graphics production and installation. What the heck does that mean? Well, Adnormous Graphics specializes in vehicle graphics and other large-scale displays. If it's worth branding, Adnormous Graphics knows how to brand it. You need to turn heads to turn profits. Adnormous Graphics gets heads turning to your company. When other companies say no job is too big or too small, well, Adnormous Graphics actually means it. Let's take, for example, a map of the United States that shows all the red states and all the blue states. Adnormous Graphics can wrap that map life-size. That's right, and they can customize it. Tired of California being a blue state? No problem. Call Adnormous Graphics and ask them to wrap the entire state of California in red vinyl. Problem solved. No more blue state. Well, speaking of a map of the United States, Adnormous Graphics offers nationwide service and installation. Remember, you need to turn heads to turn profits. Adnormous Graphics gets heads turning to your company. Call them at 770-333-2790 for Adnormous Graphics. That's 770-333-2790. If you're ready for Adnormous results, call Adnormous Graphics at 770-333-2790.
I believe that what most people want in their lives is what the Conservative Party wants to have for them. I believe that our policies are fundamentally common sense policies. Just let's take taxation for an example. Wherever I go, I hear enormous resentment about the amount which people are paying out of their own pay packet in tax. And this goes right across the income ranges. Socialism started by saying it was going to tax the rich. Very rapidly it was taxing the middle income groups. Now it's taxing people quite highly with incomes way below average and pensioners with incomes way below average. You can't, if you're trying to control inflation, go on putting public expenditure up and up beyond the taxpayer's capacity to pay, because that's a factor which will lead to inflation. Liberty is fundamental. Liberty, human dignity, a higher standard of living is fundamental. And steadily, I think, people are beginning to realize that you don't have those things unless you have a pretty large private enterprise sector. Any Iron Curtain country has neither liberty nor a very high standard of living.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
My name is Isabel. I'm from the beautiful city of Torrance, California, and I listen to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Star Coaches Incorporated wants to take care of your company outing, bachelor or bachelorette party, or guys' golf trip. Can you imagine riding in a 45-foot custom-built coach with plush leather interior, flat-screen TVs with in-motion satellite, a refrigerator, and a bathroom? Visit StarCoachUSA.com and let the folks at Star Coaches help you pick the perfect ride. Executive limo coaches provide comfortable and secure transportation that's easy and affordable. Fill the coach up with 28 of your favorite people and leave the driving to the pros. No matter where you're headed, the entire experience is sure to be unforgettable. The trained coach drivers are dedicated to getting you and your guests to your event safely and on time. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy your trip. Your buddies are waiting. Visit StarCoachUSA.com today.
Shalom, I'm Hagit Canary, the Israeli field correspondent for Cowboy Logic Radio, and I'm listening to the Cowboy Logic Radio from Ashdod, southern Israel. How cool is that?
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem. Government is the problem.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Don't you just wish you could do that to the turds in Congress?
You know, do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
And welcome back to the wild world of Cowboy Logic here on cowboylogic.radio.us on the American Pride Network. Our phone number 917-675-3200, 917-675-3200. And in just a moment, we're going to have Fabrizio Del Monte on the air. Nice Jewish boy from Western Canada. And we're going to hear his take on what's going on between our two countries. He's got socialized medicine up there. I want to hear a lot about that. And if you have a question you want to talk to him, please give us a call. He is the tour manager. Is that the actual title?
He is the tour manager. He is the babysitter.
Okay. For the band Hinder, among others.
Exactly. And when we bring him into this call here, or into the show, right now he's still on hold. So, Fab, if you're trying to respond to me, I have you mutated.
He's talking to himself.
That's right. Kind of like Donna does when she has politicians on the television.
Oh, press conferences. You should have seen me today when President Obama was on the air. Screaming! That's not true! Sorry. It's therapeutic for me, though.
You know, while we were on the break, we had a good friend and a listener send us something over Facebook that had to do with Donna saying, up the wazoo, up the wazoo. And his comment on that was... I didn't
realize I said it.
His comment was that it's so good to hear you speak Jersey. Up the wazoo.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing with Obamacare to us. I hate to say it, with their bumps and glitches.
Bumps and glitches. Well, we're going to bring in a glitch and a bump here. Fab, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really, really good, guys. How's everything down in your southeast corner of the world?
It was a 10 on the Mellish meter today. Kurt Mellish, the local weather guy, saying it was just a beautiful day, and it was a beautiful day in the neighborhood. What is it in, where are you, Vancouver?
Yeah.
Is it sunny? Have you seen the sun yet this year?
As a matter of fact, Donna, we're going to get, we had a run of really good weather about a week back, really nice, and we had a little bit of rain sort of punctuating in between. Now we're going to get another good run of about the next 10 days of, high 60s, low 70s, which is perfect for this time of year. So
yeah, that is actually very comfortable. That is nice.
It is. It really is. So I'm really looking forward to some nice weather up here. It's great up here when the weather's really nice. It's terrible when it's raining often. It's like great, like the official color of this city sometimes. It's horrible.
Well, if it's going to be sunny soon, maybe President Obama can head up that way and play another round of golf.
Maybe he can't come up here and do some skeet shooting. I see he seems to be involved in a lot of that lately. So
right.
Hey, Fab, I've got a question for you. I want to know at what point, given the fact that you are up in the northern part of North America here, although you are in the balmy northwest corner of Canada, at what point do you break out your Speedo that I've heard so much about and start sunbathing?
Speedo season is from August 16th to August 17th.
I was just going to say 1 or 2 days starting in August.
A short-lived period. It's an elusive period because it can come and go with a brief sliver of time. So,
all right. Well, I want to tell all of our callers.
Picture, I'm sorry, it's not right.
I want to tell all our callers again that this is Fabrizio Del Monte. I have to speak like Mr. International every time I say his name because I'd give anything to have a cool name like that. Having said that, Fab is the tour manager for the band Hinder. All of you Hinder fans, the third caller will get to play drums in the band when they come to your town, and the fifth caller, I believe, will be able to drive the bus when they come to your town. So, and Fab, am I correct? Is that what we've got going on here?
Yeah, they'll be able to actually push the bus to the next gig. So,
okay, there you go.
Well, I would like to make it clear that Fab is not riding around in one of my buses or Star Coach's buses, that he is probably pushing it from time to time.
Could be.
What's it really like on the road? Seriously. Especially with a band like Hinder.
Well, with any band, Donna, being on the road, and this is not, I actually robbed this from a really, really amazing manager I worked for a few years back. He said, being on a tour bus and being on the road is equal to renting a house with people you would normally never live with. and when you think about that statement, and Don's been on the road, he gets the dynamic of that. It's just like, yeah, I'd never live with these people. These people are animals.
I know John Lennon said, when you go on tour, it's a hotel room, a limousine, an airplane. A hotel room, a limousine, an airplane. I mean, that was before the times when they had buses and that kind of thing. They didn't back then. But you never really saw the cities that you were in, unfortunately, even though you had a chance to travel all over the North American area.
Yeah, been every place, seen nothing.
That's terrible. What have you seen? Have you seen the Grand Canyon?
Fab has been every place. Fab
and seen nothing.
Has seen nothing.
There are those that do go on the road and surprise. I mean, there's some of the crew guys I've had the pleasure of working with are real avid photographers, and in their spare moments, they take it upon themselves. Like this one kid I worked with, a great guitar tech by the name of Sean. He had a great camera, and he would always, on his days off, he'd be out shooting stuff, taking pictures, really absorbing, really like literally creating postcards of his touring, environment. I always thought, God, I have got to do that. I've got to commit myself to a camera at some point just to be able to create some kind of photographic history of, like having a really cool T-shirt is not a photographic history of being on the road. It's just,
yeah, they get moth holes in them after a while. All my
speak
old
for
good
yourself.
Eagles T-shirts are gone now, unfortunately.
All of my wardrobe is from
T-shirts.
Previous tours.
All you do wear is T-shirts. It's pretty funny. No matter
well, that's right. That's because you get them for free when you go on tour.
Do you pay for any of your clothes?
No. All right, Fab.
Yeah. I
want to get into a couple of questions to start this this whole picking of the Canadian brain segment that we're going to do here. And I want to find out from you, as a Canadian citizen and in talking to some of your fellow Canadians, right now, what is the impression that you guys have of the disaster of a mess that we've got down here in the lower 48?
First of all, you're financially speaking, you're out of control, like a bunch of shoppers gone wild at a store with a half price sale. I mean, currently the federal, the Fed that makes money in America?
Yeah, the Fed prints 85, million, I lost track, per month.
No, Donna, you're right. The Fed prints, and I because we talked about this briefly yesterday in a private conversation, I went to check it out, and it's the Fed prints $85 billion a month. And this is not like, we're just doing it in the month of March. This is every month.
Oh, I know. This is what it became QE1, where they printed at one point, then QE2. Now we've got QE Unlimited. They just keep printing it, and that's why everybody says, "Oh, my 401k is doing really well," because with that $85 billion a month, the bonds are going up. The market is going to go to an all-time high because you're infusing the economy with monopoly money, and it's a house of cards that is eventually going to just topple. And then everybody's 401k isn't going to be so good. And then besides that, you've got your housing down 20%. You've got tax increase via ObamaCare with all its bumps and glitches, going to be the most destructive tax increase ever, according for the Americans for Tax Reform. You have the new payroll tax that hit January 1st, and you've got $16 trillion in debt. You got $16 trillion. What do you get? Yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
Here's as I look south of the border, I look at the greatest country in the world right now, and it's kind of like it's not running out of bullets to shoot itself in the foot. It just keeps doing it over and over and over and over. And what I mean by that is that there's just so much. It's kind of like the best analogy is that I can use is it's kind of like telling your best friend that the girl he's dating is not right for him, regardless of whatever situation, but he still continues to sort of go back to that situation over and over and over to emotionally hurt himself.
It's a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and getting, expecting different results.
Right, but still continually getting the same outcome.
Yeah.
When we look across the border, literally, because we have the world's largest unprotected border between Canada and the United States. When I look across the border, it's just like, oh my God, it's just like, are these people, like, is it in the water where they just can't see what's going on, or are there just not enough of them that can say, hey, we got to somebody grab the brakes and pull hard?
It's getting to be, in my opinion, mob rule. You've got a bunch of people who are getting free stuff that are outnumbering the bunch of people who are working for a living to pay for that free stuff. And if you got no skin in the game, this is what the founding fathers initially said with, you shouldn't be able to vote if you're not a landowner. And everybody said, well, that's racist. It seems that way on the outside, but what they were trying to say is if you don't have any skin in the game, you shouldn't be allowed to vote about your outcome. And what's happened now is lawmakers see this. They keep spending more to try to buy more of these votes. And they are, in my opinion, like drug addicts. Their spending is like a drug addict. They can't help themselves.
It's just so. Just to look at, and I've been doing a lot more digging about this, just so I have a better understanding. And I don't profess to be a guru at this stuff. I'm just kind of an observer, kind of sort of standing on with 50-yard line seats. It's kind of like just sort of standing there up close and watching this game perpetuate itself. But our country, Canada, didn't. Unlike Britain, the United States, and a lot of other countries, once 2008 rolled about and all of that started to happen and QE1 was developed and it happened in places like the UK and other countries, Canada didn't do that. Canada's banks and Canada's banking system was not as struck by what was going on. So our government didn't go and print money. We did reduce interest rates, but that was because we had to, because everybody else was reducing interest rates. If we would have kept them up, it would have unbalanced a whole set of dynamics that we couldn't get ourselves out of. So we had to sort of go with the flow there. But at the end of the day, what has happened, and then just in lay terms, because I'm trying to, rather than get into really complex terms here that a lot of these economists get into, the real simple fact of this is this. If I were to lend somebody some money, I'm hoping that my money that I'm lending them is pledged by something, either some collateral or otherwise. What's happening with the printing of money in these countries is there's no pledge behind the money. There's nothing to support the printing of this money. So this money is, as you say, Donna, it's funny money, it's monopoly money.
Oh, it is.
There's nothing to support. Like when you go to the bank, when you and Dawn went to the bank to buy the house, the house was part of that pledge. Hey, the bank is giving you this money to to buy this house, and you're pledging a portion of this equity and your good names as both savers, earners, and otherwise to pay that back.
Yeah, those that do the responsible thing, and they're being vilified now.
Well, they're not being vilified. What they're becoming is the people that are being sacrificed in the game. And here's how it goes. The people being sacrificed in the game, Donna, are the people that have been able to save money. Because those that have saved money out of the 401k and otherwise, when they watch that go down, what they're watching is the upside of the equity markets do so well. And the people who are complaining about their pensions being cut down, that's the sacrifice that was made by the central bankers. Mm-hmm. And this is all you can look this up. This is all there for real. These central bankers meet in Basel, Switzerland every couple of months. And although they are not elected officials, they're the ones who now have inherited, through no fault of theirs, and I won't call it, it's a responsibility, because they're the ones trying to get us out of this mess, and they're trying to do it as best they can. But sadly, they concede that there are not only downsides, but there is going to be something we don't know. We're on uncharted financial waters that the world has never been in.
Absolutely.
And there's one guy who everybody should try and follow, either on Twitter or otherwise. His name is Mark Grant. He's a guy lives in Florida. He's been in the Wall Street, the money business, for almost 40 years. This guy he puts out a blog, but it's not available to the public.
Oh, he's called all of these horrible things that have happened, like to the T, hasn't he?
He's called all the good things and all the bad things.
Yeah, and he's saying we're not going to be in very good shape very soon.
What he said, one of the most recent things he said, he goes, I don't know what's going to prick the worldwide bubble, but right now, when it comes, it's going to come, and it's going to come horribly bad.
And fast, very fast.
So,
well, if the people would read the Cloward and Piven strategy, CLOWARD, and Piven, PIVEN strategy, which is taught actually at Columbia University by Francis Fox Piven, and Obama was a student of that, and he taught it. It's basically spending into oblivion, which we're doing in this country, but actually, because we lead the world, the whole world is seeing, oh, well, it's okay, let's go do that too. It's happening on a worldwide scale, and then when that does pop that bubble, the elites come in and just swoop in, and everybody's ripe for the picking. And if you've got people, like 40% of the people saying they don't even know that Obamacare has been passed, you've got a sleeping giant that has not been awakened yet. And I fear that, unfortunately, that it may never be awakened in time.
What's going to happen in America with Obamacare? We've had socialized medicine for a long time. and in its infancy in the early 60s when it was first brought about, it was not that expensive. But as time has marched on and things have gotten more and more expensive, right now, healthcare in some of our provinces amounts to 50% of the provincial budget, the state budget, if you will. Now, you start to think about those kind of numbers as our populace gets older, as the greatest generation gets older, as the boomers get older, we're going to be committing larger and larger tax dollars in Canada and in places like France and Italy, Spain, and Germany. They're going to be committing more and more tax dollars to the support of that system because of the advanced aging of all of that big bubble of humanity that's going to be moving through the healthcare management system. And you guys are going to face that same thing in your own way. And
I think we're already, as soon as ObamaCare kicks in, I think we're going to be close to that 50%. That's how bad it is. I mean, they're putting a 40% surcharge on some of these plans, which means everybody's health care is probably going to go up 30 to 40, maybe even 50%. It's insane. And there's nobody else paying into it because there's no jobs. So it's a snowball effect. The jobs are fewer and far between, and you've got people, that are taking from the system and now an inordinate number of people not paying into it.
Yeah, it's right now, I pay, for one person, for myself, I pay $66 a month. And I'll tell you what that gets me, just so that you get
Wow.
and the people, you and the people listening get a perspective.
That's pretty good, I'll be honest with you. Let me hear what you get for that.
I can walk into any clinic across the country, not the city, not the province, but the country, and just with my medical card, if I'm hurt, injured, or otherwise, I can walk in either to a clinic or a hospital, and I can get immediate care without any issues whatsoever.
Yeah, but how is that going? Like you say, the costs are going to go up. To me, most people are paying 5 times that in the United States right now in private health care.
Yeah. I know some people are paying tremendous amounts of money for private health care.
But I bet a lot of it has to do with the lack of tort reform, too, and too many legal cases raising the cost of insurance premiums as well.
Yeah, but Fab, let me ask you something. You say you're paying $66 a month, and you can go in any emergency care or any immediate care facility, and they'll take care of you. What are your taxes, though? Because something has to pay for all this, and I think that you and I have talked in the past about the fact that your taxes are much higher up there.
They are. I think some you can get upwards of 42% in some tax brackets. The shell game of taxes in any country is always fun to watch. As they have attempted to reduce personal income tax here, other things get taxed on top of it. Mm-hmm. For example, what's the price of gas today in Atlanta? When you guys were driving into work, what was the price of gas today?
Somewhere around $3.50 a gallon, $3.60. It's going back up again, though. All right. It was close to $4.
We'll call it $3.60 a gallon for sake of argument. There's so that's 90 cents a liter. All right, we pay for it by liter. Up here today, the price of gas was I think it was $1.35 a liter. And to get an example, you have to multiply that by 4.5 to get the price of gas per gallon. So I don't have a calculator handy if somebody wants to do the
pretty
math.
Close. It's a lot more. It's more. But okay, I understand that. I know there's different things that are going to cost more money, that kind of thing. People here in the United States, though, drive a heck of a lot more, and they rely on those cars a lot more to get to work. And so that in itself is a tax. I remember when I was in New York, I had to pay to go through the Lincoln Tunnel. I had to pay to use the New Jersey Turnpike. I had to pay to, I didn't have to pay to park because I had press plates, but that's another story. I had to pay city tax. I had to pay for commuter tax, which had been stopped, and then they reinstated it. I have to pay New York state tax as well as New Jersey tax. And technically, if you're paying a city tax, a commuter tax, and a New York state tax, that's taxation without representation because I didn't live in New York. So it's another thing. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more, Fab, about how long you have to actually wait for some certain procedures and compare the U.S. versus the Canadian healthcare system right now and where we think we're heading here in the U.S. 917-675-3200 is the number to call here at Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Mom, I'm home.
Hi, honey. Did you find a job?
Not yet.
Again? Oh, maybe next time.
Maybe not. Why should I get a job? I got a roof over my head, 3 squares, laundry done, and thanks to ObamaCare, healthcare till I'm 26. I've got it made.
That's right, kids. While the administration keeps telling us that the unemployment rate has gone down 0.1% overall, what they don't tell you is that more than 500,000 people have stopped looking for work. So they aren't even counted anymore. If they were, the unemployment rate would be closer to 15%. But wait, there's more. Youth unemployment is already there. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, teenage unemployment is a staggering 16.3%, more like 23% for young black and Hispanic men, the very group Obama has professed he's trying to help. Even the very liberal Huffington Post reported back in 2011 that youth unemployment was, quote, the worst summer on record for young adults looking for work in 2010 and 2011 since the Labor Department started keeping those stats. That's since 1948. In other words, the highest youth unemployment since the Great Depression. Now, with almost 1 million not counted since they gave up looking, it shows no sign of improving. The youth labor participation rate is at an all-time low. Rutgers University professor Charles E. Van Horn said these, quote, unfulfilled expectations for young people trying to get that meaningful early job and failing means increased poverty, the potential to work off the books, atrophy of skills, and an increased reliance on social safety nets. And black teens are even less likely to find work, as those who need work experience the most get the least. Statistics show that young people's first job and early employment history improves their self-esteem, buying power, and overall proves they'll be more successful in life, which can only help the country as a whole. The economy has been shrinking since 2009. The labor participation rate is at an all-time low since they kept those stats back in 1948. So it stands to reason that those with no experience looking for their first job will be the hardest hit. Couple that with kids coming out of college with tens of thousands of dollars in college tuition they'll have a diminished capacity to repay. The social ramifications are also staggering. Any way you cut it, this is record high youth unemployment, period.
So why bother looking anymore? I'll just get turned down or end up with a nothing job when I can hang out in the basement and play Xbox all day. Hey, that way I can live off of everybody else. Thanks, President Obama.
The Cowboy Logic phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 917-675-3200. That's 917-675-3200.
Hey everybody, this is Stan Levy, also known as the Black Man Thinking out here in California. When I'm not dealing with the friends of Governor Moonbeam out here, I tune into Cowboy Logic. Hope you do too.
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia along with Don Neuen. And we do have a phone number for you to call in and be heard, 646-929-0432. And I'm very excited. For the last couple of weeks, we've been trying to get House Speaker John Boehner to join us. It's difficult. I mean, he's a busy guy. House Speaker kind of keeps you busy. And he's got the fiscal cliff going on, debt problems, sequestration, and just things dragging on and on and on that just never seem to get rectified at all in Congress or in Washington, D.C. in general, from the White House or the Senate for that matter. So as I say, we've been trying for quite some time to get Speaker Boehner to join us, and we are lucky enough to finally get him on the phone. House Speaker John Boehner, thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. Speaker Boehner, you know, you've been criticized quite a bit, especially from the Tea Partiers, for saying that President Obama is your friend, because it seems, according to the Tea Party and most on the right, if anything, Obama is anything but a friend to Republicans and to you and to Congress.
Speaker Boehner, I do appreciate you coming on the show with us and spending some time with us. I know that your personal time as well as your business time that you spend in Congress is completely irrelevant to any of us. And having said that, I appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. The first question that I would like to ask you, sir, is at what point in your political career and at what point in you holding the position of Speaker of the House will you, sir, grow a set of balls?
Mr. New Castrati Boehner, can you tell us why anybody would want to vote Republican, given the fact that you've taken Congress so far to the left, there's really no difference?
Speaker Boehner, what exactly is it that you do with all of your spare time when you're not crying? Speaker Boehner, again, thank you for coming on the show, talking with us, and entertaining our listening audience. I have another quick question for you, sir. My question is this. How do you consider the job that you are doing? How would you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute best Speaker of the House that's ever held the position, and 1 being very much like Nancy Pelosi? Where would you put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, sir?
Speaker Boehner, given the fact that you have done nothing but give in to every little thing that the Obama administration pushes you toward, can you justify your existence as Speaker of the House?
You're listening to Cowboy Logic Radio.
The Cowboy Logic phone lines are now open. Give us a call at 917-675-3200. That's 917-675-3200.
Don't you just wish you could do that to the turds in Congress?
Do me a favor. Could you say senator instead of ma'am?
I love these members that get up and say, read the bill.
What difference at this point does it make?
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
We know that the free market is nonsense.
This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
The time has come for unfiltered, politically incorrect common sense. Welcome to the wild world of Cowboy Logic.
We're back for our last half hour of Cowboy Logic Radio, and boy, the time just flies when you're having fun. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and Fabrizio Del Monte is our special guest this hour. He is the tour manager for the band Hinder. So he's been out on, he bribes the dust. No, he doesn't. He rides in the bus. Little honeymooners humor there.
He lives in the bus.
Yeah, I guess. And like you said, with a bunch of people he normally would never want to live with. But you do what you got to do. But the real thing we wanted to talk about with Fab, besides obviously, if you've got any questions, anybody certainly can call in, find out what it's like to be out on the road with a major rock band. The fact that you live in the Vancouver area, you've had socialized medicine, as you've said now, for better part of 30, 40, 50 years now in Canada. You say you spend, $66, you said, a month in healthcare, which is a bargain by anybody's stretch of the imagination here in the United States, although you do have other taxes. But what I'd really like to know, Fab, in general, for major things, what happens then? Do you have to wait? Are you able to get right in there? And what I'm wondering, what is it really doing as far as how come that sounds very appealing to most people who only look at it? Wow, $66 a month. That's great. And why is that not going to happen here in the United States? That's another story. But do you have to wait for a really long time if you need a procedure, that kind of thing?
Well, some procedures, it'll vary. Sometimes you might wait 2, 4, 6 weeks. Sometimes you might go right in. It really is. If you're needing some kind of orthopedic surgery, you might wait 6, 8 weeks, maybe maybe longer. Some are up to 14 weeks. If you got a real medical crisis, they'll get you in right away. I asked my doctor about that. I was kind of, after one of our conversations a while back, I asked him about that. And he's like, yeah, there are waits and stuff, but, if somebody's in real dire need of medical attention, they'll get it. It's not like the system will forsake them.
Do they have doctor shortages at all?
We do, because the attraction is for doctors to relocate to the United States where there's bigger paydays for them.
Not anymore.
Hey, Fab, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
About a year and a half ago, I tore my Achilles tendon in half playing ball. Yeah. An injury like that, am I looking at a wait? Am I looking at immediate care? Am I looking at take this number, we'll see you in about 3 weeks? What's the situation?
No, if you and I were playing on a ball field in Vancouver here, if we're playing down the street, and I was rounding the bases, and I tore up my leg to no end, You know, I'm screaming like a baby on the field, and, you know, you and a bunch of buddies drag me, put me in the car, we drive down to the hospital. They would attend to it pretty much right away. Like, okay, this is, you know, you can't, you know, there are some injuries that can be left for a period of time. But there's some things that, you know, like something like that, you would have got in and you would have been attended to pretty damn quick.
See, the thing is, Obamacare is not following the Canadian model at all. The Obamacare model is basically the IRS and the government centrally, dispersing your health care. And my argument is, name me one thing the government does better than the private sector. There's nothing this government here in the United States has done that hasn't gone bankrupt.
Here's how it works here. We have a federal Canadian medical rules, and those rules every province, state has to follow. The administration of the medical system is done provincially from state to state, basically. So there's the federal government says, here are the rules. Everybody's got to live by them. Everybody has input. We all agree on the rules. And then they're administered and managed, both financially and otherwise, at the more local level. Second to that, there are ways to get services that you can just, if you need an MRI, and you're feeling you need an MRI or a CT scan or whatever, faster that, you can get it faster by going to pay for it. So I can just simply jump the queue if I have the money and go pay for the service, and away we go. So we are starting to have some parallels between the United States and some other countries where they have the private system where you can just simply go and, purchase your procedures, if you will.
Do your politicians, are they subjected to exactly the same healthcare system that you have, or are they given a what we call down here a Cadillac policy? Are they exempt from the normal citizen of Canada healthcare system?
I think every government at every level protects its own better than it protects its own constituents. So I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes on that, because I have heard some stories about politicians, both at the state and federal level, getting, even actually flying south to get services. So yeah, and having them paid for.
I haven't read Obamacare, but then again, I'm not a lawmaker and wasn't asked to vote on it yet. I have friends that have, and I need to consult them to tell you the truth. But from what I've heard, you actually can get fined if you try to pay for some procedures outside of Obamacare. I mean, they've got you going and coming in this one. They've thought of every single angle. It's scary.
Well, that whole thinking of every single angle, Donna, what they probably went and did is they probably went beyond the borders of their own country and looked at every other system of that has a socialized medicine system and go, how are the rules set up? And yeah, a lot of countries that have socialized medicine literally make it difficult to impossible to have private care services. So they probably took it upon themselves to go, how is Canada doing it? How is Sweden? How is France? How is Germany? You got to remember, the French have two systems. They have a private and a public. Mm-hmm. So they're managing both systems quite well. So, and you can be in either one. You don't have to, you can use one and be in the other at the same time. You don't have to commit yourself to either or. So there's some stuff going on, but look, medical costs money. Doesn't matter where you are. It's going to cost a lot of money. And as I said earlier, as people advance in age, as the boomers advance in age, and there's so many of us, going to be retiring and otherwise, we are going to be the ones taxing the medical system to no end. And I mean that on a use level and a financial level. And it'll be your kids who will be given the bill to. Here you go, sons and daughters of us, pony up and start paying to take care of us.
Yeah, they all think they got free health care till they're 26.
Yeah, we're already doing that. We're passing
a
huge debt onto our kids. And, you know, it's about the only thing that I really feel guilty about with regard to my generation is what we're doing to my kids and their kids. I mean, it's sickening. It's absolutely sickening.
There's not enough money in the world. I mean, Cyprus is equivalent to the state of Indiana. Okay, so if Indiana goes bankrupt, I guess the rest of the United States could survive. But you know what? You're multiplying that times 50. Plus, Indiana doesn't have one of the bigger budgets. It's unconscionable what's going on because unfunded liabilities in general are more like 75 to 80 trillion. I don't think there's that much money in the world.
I can't even wrap my head around that amount.
I mean, that's like, what didn't somebody say if you took $100 bills or something, it would stretch all the way up to the moon if you laid them on top of each other?
Yeah, very similar to the regulation, the number of pages in the regulations for ObamaCare.
Well, there's more pages in ObamaCare than there are in the U.S. in the Bible. Obamacare is thicker than the Bible.
Well, the regulations, Fab, the regulations for Obamacare are 20,000 plus pages. Just the regulations.
How does a doctor run a business and fill out forms like this? I mean, my friend in New Jersey, who's a doctor, said every month almost she has to change the codes and this and that, and then there's software she's got to buy to update it, and if she messes up she's got to resubmit it, and then if it's late she's got to resubmit it again, and blah blah blah. And half the time she gets for a delivery she's getting a couple $100 now, which is insane.
Well, that's because you've got some bureaucrat in a cubicle someplace trying to push a pencil and figure out a way to keep his job.
Yeah, and the problem is really union jobs are going to pay better than even doctors. I mean, was it Margaret Thatcher that pretty much said they're going to be happy? They're not going to be happy until they make the rich less rich and the poor extremely poor.
Hey,
it's
Fab.
Not going to do anybody any good to lower the whole playing field here.
Fab.
No. Yeah, John.
I want to ask you a question. Canadians' perspective on the United States and its involvement and support of Israel.
Threw for a curve there. It's not on the radar screen for Canadians, is it, Fab?
Not like it is down in the United States. We every sitting government in Canada has unilaterally supported the Israeli position, almost, note for note on the things that the United States has done. I think we're in lockstep in certain things at the government level. There have been a couple of things, I think, where our current prime minister has he's opinioned some ideas about things he didn't like or wasn't a fan of, even though he knew full well that what he was, his statement was going to cause some kind of, fire of sorts, and he's, said a few things because that's the way, that's the feeling of the government, and possibly, look, we have in the eastern part of Canada there is a strong Jewish community, and then there is some in Western Canada as well. But Montreal, like New York, they're mirrored in the sense of there's large Jewish inhabitants in both those cities, and you see a lot of that sentiment more as you move east than you are west. I mean, the Jewish sentiment is nowhere near as large as it is in LA as it is in New York. So it's I think it's more historically and geographically placed by vis-a-vis where those people have landed and where they have lived historically. You got to remember too. You guys know better than I do, but I think the Jewish lobby groups in Washington are extensive and deep-pocketed in nature. So,
well, my question for you would be the Jewish population in Canada. Do they consider themselves, are they supporting Israel? In the United States, we've got a large population of liberal Jews that, quite frankly, are not supporting Israel?
Well, they support Israel when they're in Israel, if they go to Israel, but they throw their support usually behind the Democrat Party, which in this case, in my opinion, this administration is doing anything but helping Israel.
It just really doesn't show on the radar like it does down in the United States.
Is that in the 57 states? The 57 states of the United States?
That's what Obama thought we had. But there's 57 Islamic states. Oops. Hey, Fab, but what about this this terrorist train attack, I believe, that was thwarted up in Canada? I mean, you guys are not immune to terrorism up there. Luckily, this one was stopped.
There's been others, too, that have... hey, look, Canada's not immune to homegrown terrorism. The RCMP and CSIS, which is a federal kind of like NSA or one of those kind of deep organizations that spy organizations that nobody knows about. There was a group of people, there's 5 or 7 of them, about 2 or 3 years ago, and they were plotting some massive bombing scheme in Eastern Canada, Toronto or otherwise, and the police, swooped down on these people. They caught them like red-handed, literally. All the equipment, everything being prepared and put into action, for this event. And the police took all of the explosives, took them out into a field and detonated them, and they filmed this just to show. Just record evidence. Look, this is all the equipment we've detonated it vis-a-vis how they were going to do it, just to show what it was like. And it was massive in scope. We're talking, hundreds of pounds of car bomb material here. Like, this was going to do not the damage that it did in Boston, and I'm not diminishing that by any measure, but things like the World Trade Center when they tried to bomb it from the car parking lot. Mm-hmm. That kind of, stuff was, and that, they got these guys, put them in jail for life.
Do you know if it was a fertilizer type bomb? Like
I think
what happened in Oklahoma City?
I think, those are the easier of components. You can't go down to Walmart and go, give me 100 pounds of C4. That just doesn't happen. No. So, but it's pretty easy to buy diesel and get a farm supplier to give you, specific fertilizers. Mm-hmm. So, it's, and the CIA and the RCMP and CSIS, I think, shared in a certain amount of information, flow of information relative to this current situation that we had, and there's probably more coming. These things don't happen in ones. These are followed by more people doing this. So
no, and there are many people that are saying the Boston bombers had outside help. This had all the markings of Al-Qaeda. It wasn't just something these guys would throw together. And the fact that they went to Russia, or the older brother went to Russia and came back and started talking about jihad and that kind of thing when he came back, it's pretty telling. And what's even more telling, though, is the fact that they've got a judge that came in there and a slip and fall lawyer essentially telling this kid that's alive to not say anything, and he's clammed right up. And right when he was starting to give us information, that's not happening. So again, we have a problem here in the United States between the CIA, the FBI, local authorities, and now Homeland Security, when all this stuff was supposed to be streamlined, and that obviously has not happened. If anything, quite the opposite. There's still this rivalry going on, and one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing.
Yeah, when you get a lot of police agencies overlapping, there are obviously going to be, some inherent problems. Whose jurisdiction is it? Who owns this situation and such. I think there needs to be a certain level of, all right, under these conditions or under these kind of threat activities, we need to hand off all info to we need to delegate somebody to be the point person, so to speak. So I think more of that is more communication is happening, but I don't think more delegation of, look, we need to sort of, because this happened on U.S. soil, it's now governed by the criminal and legal code as opposed to a foreign combatant condition. So,
which I disagree with.
Yeah, see, to me, this is an act of terrorism. It has nothing to do with getting read your Miranda rights, but that's just my opinion.
Hey, Fab, we've loved having you on, man. We really have. We got to go.
Time just flies when you're
Thank you. Fabrizio Del Monte, our West Canadian field correspondent, also the tour manager for the rock and roll band Hinder. Fab, thank you, sir.
Hey, pleasure. Thank you, guys. You guys have a great night.
Hey, Fab, sleep tight.
Thanks, buddy.
It's late here for me.
All right. Before we go here, one more time, I want to wish happy birthday to my youngest son, Parker Neuen.
The little punky.
I don't know if he's listening, but if he is, Park, I love you, man. I'm proud of you. You're about to get your learner's permit.
Oh, man.
But the fact of the matter is, out here in the country, he's been driving now for about 5 years. He can drive tractors. He can drive cars. Hey, listen, we thank you guys for listening. We sure appreciate you. Come find us on Facebook. Tell your friends about us. Please listen to us. Spread the word. Cowboy Logic Radio. CowboyLogic.us.
See you next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there or be square. Have a good week, everyone. Cowboy Logic Radio. Unfiltered, politically incorrect, common sense. You've been listening to Cowboy Logic Radio, a division of Donna Fiducia Production.